Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Grid Talk podcast. And we are here to preview the Japanese Grand Prix. The celebrations are still very much happening in Japan, as of course, we'll touch on the big news that only broke a few days ago. But covering this preview with me is fellow Grid Talk host Sophia Richmond.
Hi.
So, before we get started, we must thank our sponsor for this episode, Bet Online. Bet Online is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for all betting on all the madness. Even if your bracket is busted, Bet Online has more ways to stay in on the action with a free Sweet 16 bracket and live betting on every remaining tournament game. With the largest selection on odds from everything from college basketball to MLB, NHL, and MMA, BetOnline continues to be your number one sports betting source. From every Cinderella story to every hat trick, BetOnline has you covered with the odds, stats, and more for every game, every play, and every win. BetOnline, the game starts here. So, obviously, as I kind of alluded to in the introduction, Sophia, uh, there's a little bit of news coming out of Red Bull this weekend. They've got a new livery. Apparently, they're doing a special livery for the Japanese Grand Prix.
Yeah, it's the almost like all white. I've not really seen some of the photos of it, but it's giving back to some of the previous special liveries that they've done with like the Japanese blossoms as well. But we knew something was up because Instagram on their account, it went dark for a little bit and then obviously it went all white and then obviously they delivered the new livery. But yeah, I think that's pretty much the biggest news out of Red Bull, don't you think?
Yeah, I don't think it has anything to do with their new Japanese driver that happens to be in their car this weekend.
No, definitely not. I mean, we knew that a driver swap was going to happen, but I mean, it was kind of the worst kept secret that it was going to happen. We just didn't know it was going to be so soon. And especially the fact that his first race in Red Bull will be at his home Grand Prix. I think that's going to be absolutely chaotic in the best way possible as well. There's a lot of pressure on top of that now as well, because had it been any other swap for any other race, I feel like it would have been a lot easier just kind of to maintain the composure. But the fact that it's also your home race, given as well that I believe last year as well, he was the first Japanese driver to score points at a home race since 2012 as well. So like there is a lot of pressure I think on Yuki, and obviously you're hearing the comments of how the car is, and obviously you're seeing Max's performance not being the best as it used to be as well. A lot of eyes on both of the Red Bull and V Carb as well, and looking at both as well, how Lawson's gonna do back in the V Carb car as well, and how that dynamic is going to be as well, working with Isaac Hajar as well, and obviously Isaac Hajar has not raced either at this circuit, so there's a lot to look out for both of those cars and also the rookies.
Yeah, I mean it's a huge decision by Red Bull to essentially just completely demote Liam Lawson after two races in the main team. This is the quickest we've ever seen Red Bull make this decision. So I saw online that people had been making comparisons between the Red Bull like drivers, Max's teammates, and Henry VIII's wives. We had Daniel Ricciardo divorced, then we had Pierre Gasly, who was beheaded. He was kind of axed mid-season, before he got to his turn. Alex Albon, his kind of Red Bull thing died in the end. It just kind of went away. Again, we come back. Sergio Perez, the he's the next divorced. He's had to like get pushed away. The new one, Liam Lawson, died. He got axed after two races, and now we've got Yuki Tsunoda. Will he be the one to survive?
Hopefully. I mean, I was seeing some of the stats and numbers, and the minute Liam Lawson has been with Red Bull and kind of racing, I don't know if it's fully factual, but like it's the jokes about it, that the amount of minutes that he's been in a racing Red Bull car is less than the amount of career points that Max Verstappen has ever accumulated as well, which is crazy. And then if you also look back at this as well, Yuki, the amount of teammates that Yuki has had more teammates than Lewis Hamilton has had teammates since his entire career. Yuki's had that in 3.5 seasons. Like, I don't agree. I agree of a driver swap. We've seen it before, especially with how the relationship between VCarb and Red Bull is. It's bound to happen. I don't agree with how soon it is because the thing is as well, a lot of those driver swaps were with cars that were equally not good or equally good. Whereas if you're looking at Red Bull this season so far, it is not performing as well as it should be. So that you should have maybe focus on fixing the cars and working with the drivers than cutting them off by their head and beheading them pretty much. Um, I think probably should have given him at least another couple races as well because obviously the dynamic and the changes of the racing structure. Obviously, we started in Melbourne. We're visiting tracks early in the season that we kind of weren't really doing last season as well. And some of these are new to Liam Lawson as well. Like some of these tracks are very limited in his understanding and learning as well. So like they kind of set him up to failure if they were going to cut him off so soon. To be fair, I thought Jack Doohan was going to get cut before Liam Lawson as well, with how all that hype was about the 7 races or 5 races before Franco Colapinto. Or, in my offense, I want Paul Aaron to step in over Franco, but that's just a different conversation. But it's chaotic to see.
Yeah, I mean, the driver market, we had a big tumultuous time of it last season. I think we're going to have an even crazier time of it this season. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Liam fares in Japan, given that, he did a season in Super Formula. It's a track that he's incredibly familiar with. And more importantly, he beat Yuki last season very comprehensively at this track. So we will see who gets out ahead. But let's not talk about the midfield. Let's talk about the top and the people who actually might win the championship this year. And that is McLaren. So we are 2 races down, 1 win for Lando in Australia and 1 win for Oscar in China. It's heating up. And this is, kind of what we want to see. And who do you think has the advantage? Who do you think has the edge going into the Japanese Grand Prix?
I mean, I'm living my best life as a McLaren fan, let's be honest. But I mean, the thing is, it's nice to see both of those drivers being competitive, but also in the long term, how much is that going to hinder with other drivers getting points, maybe second, third, fourth, and getting that consistency as well? Like, there was a joke obviously in the cool down room, and Lando was calling like multi 21 Seb, like making those jokes as well. I think both sides has really good arguments. How Oscar is very much settled now into the car and his driving style is suited a lot better, I think, now with McLaren. However, Lando's knowledge and skills and experience also does come into play a bit more as well. So both sides are very much equal, I think, on who is the better driver. I mean, they're both great, and I think McLaren's constructor championship is very safe, let's be honest. But when it comes to the drivers championship, are they going to run each other to the ground and let another driver, Charles, Max, maybe even Lewis or George, will they kind of sneak in because these drivers are going to be battling against each other, wanting to take the top spot, and maybe another driver will come in and sneak in with the consistency of points in like P3, P4. Also, as well as sprint races, obviously Oscar scored more points now compared to Lando because obviously, I believe, or close to that in a race weekend because obviously the sprints come into effect. How is that going to be with other sprint races as well? Because those are key points, especially for the drivers' championship now as well, especially because obviously fastest lap is being taken away this season as well. That is what 24 points lost in a season. That makes a championship difference sometimes as well. So those sprint races are going to be very, very crucial as well for this season. But I mean, if I had to pick, I would say Lando just because I've supported him longer. I've loved Oscar Piastri in his junior career. I followed it in Formula 2 and Formula 3. But I think overall, yeah, Lando, I would say over Oscar, but I'm happy either way as a McLaren fan in general.
Yeah, you kind of mentioned this, Brendan. That's is something I was gonna pick up on because you know, we're talking about this battle, but we've seen critical errors kind of from both drivers so far. We talk about Oscar and, well, Lando did initially go through the gravel and then Oscar kind of had a bit of a worse incident. It was really unfortunate. But then also Lando's sprint race in China was really not good. Like he spent most of that race like behind Stroll, chewing up his tires and just not able to bounce back as we would kind of expect that McLaren to do. Is that, we're still looking at, even though two drivers going for the championship, that inexperience in the title fight, is that showing this early on?
I want to say no, but yeah, you make a decent point, a correct point about how Lando is. And I think it's so hard to like look at as well because like yeah, behind Stroll, that's something that you really would not really want to expect from McLaren or even an experienced top fight driver. I Oscar is more consistent and will take bigger risks with those consistencies, whereas Lando definitely does play it a lot more safer. I think in his mind, it's I'd rather finish than not finish, or I'd rather finish low or DNF because I'm still going to get some points for the team and some points in my championship. I think that's kind of his mentality, maybe. At least that's how I'm seeing it. But yeah, I think Oscar makes calculated risks and a lot of his risks pay off, whereas Lando makes rookie mistakes more often than other. Now, we don't know if that's him and his driving style as well, or if it's also what's being said on radio as well, because it's not just the driver, it's the car, it's the team, and I'll die on that hill always that it's not just the driver and like who's making a lot of these decisions as well. They are a huge factor of it, but it depends on how the car is, it depends on the setup as well, because both of those drivers have different driving styles as well. So you're not going to make two different cars with the same team as well. So who is getting the better advantage in that car, and also the strategy calls as well, and what's Zach Brown saying or Andreas Stella saying as well. Like there's so many other factors, not just on the driver itself, but I'm seeing a lot more rookie mistakes. I'm hoping from Lando's sake, it will. It's just the first of the season kind of bugs, and then come I don't even know, maybe after Japan or even the race after Japan, which is blanking me right now. But hopefully, after the first four races, we can look at the last 20 to kind of pick it up and kind of get back to what we saw at the end of the season for Lando.
Mm. I mean, we're talking about this championship battle like it is a two-horse race, but the fact is, Oscar's actually fourth right now. He's not actually in second place in the championship. Between him, he's got Max Verstappen, who's had two great results over the last couple of weekends, and George Russell, the Mister just picking up podiums where he can. Which kind of brings us nicely into our next sort of point. So we kind of have this like McLaren, but then often as we see in Formula One, there's this tight battle for like second place. We've seen it over the last couple of seasons, and this year, obviously, we have the Mercedes, George Russell, two podiums, doing very well. Kimi Antonelli, he's finding his way. He's not. I would say he's probably not blowing us away like people were expecting, but he's doing a solid job. Ferrari, who are Ferrarying very much, and Red Bull, who have just, as we mentioned, just sacked one of their drivers. That's how well their season is going right now. Um, so, what do you think of this sort of midfield battle? Ferrari don't have a lot of points, but that's mostly because they threw it away in Australia with a really weird strategy call, and then they forgot to fill the water in Charles Leclerc's car and got himself disqualified, and the skid plate, I think it was in Lewis Hamilton's. I mean, how do you see Ferrari like bouncing back? Where do you see Ferrari fitting in with this like best of the rest kind of?
I mean, Ferrari doing Ferrari things with their strategies. Let's be honest. It's just worse luck as well. I mean, it was lovely to see, obviously, like with Lewis winning the sprint race. I think that was such nice to see. Like, it shows that Ferrari is doing well. I just feel like, yeah, those mistakes, like the skip plate, it was less than a driver's license width, which, to be fair, I'm very proud of the FIA actually standing on their rules and kind of not giving any kind of special treatment per se. It's black and white. It was under, cool, disqualification, fine. The water situation, yeah, like that's not again, that's like a rookie mistake. Like, especially even though it wasn't as hot in Shanghai. Yeah, in Shanghai. That's still kind of a need. Like, imagine not going out without water for nearly 2 hours, especially with that G force and the sweat and everything. Like, it's worse than when racing in like Bahrain and Qatar when it was like that heat wave. Um, with the other teams as well, like Mercedes, George, even last season, he is consistent. And that's where, leading to my previous comment, I think that he can probably make some good points and jump up. Obviously, he's currently second. If he keeps it like this and letting other teams kind of battle each other, both internally and externally, he's going to be very close in contention for the championship. I'll definitely stand on that because he has been in points. He's done very well in qualifying. He's also making up for a lot of other teams' mistakes, like Ferrari and Red Bull, even as well. With Kimi, again, a lot of the hype came in and a lot of pressure. I think he is doing better than most of the rookies. However, he's also in a better car than most of the rookies as well. So you kind of need to take it with a grain of salt. But I'm expecting more. I've said multiple times on podcasts, I didn't agree with Kimi coming into F1. I think he needed another season. But again, this is just how the driver layout was and the timing. It worked better this season than next season. I think a lot of the development and training that he's going to do is going to be needed, but it's something that I've just seen on social media as well. Kimi's 18. He is still in school right now. So while other drivers are training and prepping, he's flying back to Italy and finishing his high school education. That is crucial time that he could have been using for sim racing development training. So like this is also again the timing situation as well. Had he maybe joined next year when he's 19 and finish school, like he could have done a lot better. But he's physically flying back and forth to Italy to attend school. Obviously, I think he's trying to finish early in the year so that he can focus on the season more. But that's key development for him in his career that is being missed out. And I think had he been like most of the other drivers and kind of been able to focus full time on driving and not with the education, again, education is important. I'm prefacing that. It's great. I have a master's, like, but that's crucial in his time.
I
Like,
do too.
yeah, you're a teacher as well. So, like, obviously, we understand education, but yeah, that's hindering him. Red Bull, obviously, we've talked about it. We talked about it in Beyond the Grid Talk episode as well, which I believe is going to be out soon. So listen when it drops. Shameless plug. But sacking your second driver so soon in the season and Max not performing well. I mean, I'm going to say my prediction now. I don't think Max is going to podium, even though he has won and converted pole to victories for the last 3 seasons. We've had two Red Bull 1-2s as well in the last 3 races. I don't think he's going to podium because for some reason it's not syncing up. We're also attending Japan at a different time of year. I believe the weather is still very, very cold. I believe it was snowing still in certain parts as well. Like this is going to be new for a lot of these drivers, and a lot of these cars are not built for colder weather. We've seen that obviously in testing as well. So out of the three, I actually think Ferrari has probably the better opportunity to get more points if the strategy lines up. I think from a driver perspective, though, I think George will be out of all those drivers probably the more consistent to get points this weekend compared to the Mercedes, the Ferrari, the Red Bulls out of all those drivers.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not one to dox myself, but yes, it was snowing when I was walking home from the station before this before this podcast, and yeah, if you want a general lowdown on the weather, it has not been as warm. I mean, it won't. We will not have the typhoons of usual when we race um, later in the year in Japan. But we're talking. I'm just having a quick look at the weather. We're talking nothing over 20 degrees. It's you know Mie Prefecture where the race is by the sea. It's usually quite windy. Brings in that sort of sea breeze, that sea chill. So yeah, as you said, it's not going to be it's not going to be warm. But yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting one. Red Bull have got a lot to prove almost with this driver swap. Ferrari have got to bounce back because they've had so many points just absolutely taken away from them, and Mercedes are probably absolutely rubbing their hands together, going, "It's easy. We don't have to do anything when our rivals are the ones shooting themselves in the foot." But before we move on to the next topic, How about you take 5 to leave a 5-star review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whichever podcasting service that you use? And if you're one of these people who are not subscribed to our YouTube channel, because statistically you're not, how about give us a subscribe and then also hit that notification button? You'll get instantly notified when we upload our preview and also when we go live for our race review, which of course we'll be doing an hour after the end of the Japanese Grand Prix this weekend. I know it's early, but European people, you get all the good times. So this, just let me have this one. Okay, so let's kind of move a little down to a team that we thought were going to be really in the running, but have been played with a few issues here and there. Williams, there was a lot of talk coming into this season. It's like you bring in a driver like Carlos Sainz. It's the first real test that Alex Albon has had with a teammate since Max Verstappen. You know, when he was at Williams, he's had Nicholas Latifi, the GOAT, rest in peace. Logan Sargent, um, and he had Franco Colapinto as well. And he saw them off. He was pretty convincing. He did a good job. And then people were saying signs. Here's the test. You know, there's no way Alex can do signs. And so far, 2 races down, it's 2-0 to Alex. Really, Sainz has not had a fun time at Williams. You know, what do you think is really like going on, and how do you think he starts to build and try and improve this season, which has not had an ideal start?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just looking at some of like the figures. Obviously, like Alex Albon is currently sixth in the standings in the Drivers' Championship, and then Carlos Sainz with a single point is 14th. So, I mean, it's a tale of two as well. And I think as a whole, Williams is doing great. The fact that I was seeing online again, because I'm chronically online, in the last 5 seasons, I believe it was only 2023, in the first 2 races, they scored 1 point. This season they've already done 17 whatever points. Like that is crazy to see. And obviously we saw in testing how well the Williams is looking to do better as well. I think they're going to be more of a mid than a bottom team, let's be honest. But it's been great to see. And like Alex Albon as well has stepped in even more to the role that he already had. He was kind of the top driver, obviously, last season as well. But this season as well, he's proving a lot. Like, I mean, it came up online as well that even in the driver swap, that they even looked at Alex Albon to come back to Red Bull. Like, that is showing potentially the skill and the need of a driver like Alex onto a team. And I think Williams is very much locked out to have him still staying with the team, and I believe contract extension as well. Moving on to Sainz, like Sainz is experience, but again, he's also moved a lot of teams as well, and that's I think could have some hindrance. It's giving kind of Danny Rick vibes as well, moving to different teams and kind of slowly progressing down the hill. I think he has had some unlucky situations in these first 2 races, albeit not really from himself. It's just more kind of how the situation unfolded. I think though Japan is probably going to be a good one for him. Obviously, he has some good race finishes as well over the seasons with it, and given moving back again to the testing, which was in cooler weather and Williams doing well, I think this also is probably going to be a good one for Williams as a whole, with both of the drivers kind of getting into the points and getting the well needed points. It just takes a little bit of time, and I mean they're not going to axe Carlos after 2 races, unlike Red Bull, but I kind of always give a grace of at least 3 races or 3 race weekends, I should say, for a driver moving to different teams as well, because you need to kind of work with a new team, work with a different way of how management style is, strategy style, and just the team as whole. And obviously in a car as well, that's maybe not catered to you as well as previous seasons as well. So I think this is going to be a crucial one for Carlos. I am very confident that he will do well and get points. That's easy. I think for both of the Williams, actually, will probably get points this weekend, and put that as my bold maybe. I just need a little bit of time, and I'm grateful that obviously Williams is giving them the time. And you can even see James Vowell even talking as well online and into the press as well. Like, there's no issue with Carlos. It's just again, time to adjust and settle. And yeah, I think this weekend will be a key turning point. I hope it's going to be a key turning point as well because um, Williams is doing really well, and you don't want it to be a one-sided situation, especially when it's a lower team as well.
Yeah. But one thing I wanted to add about Williams and get your opinion on is racing bulls, RB, whatever their name is. They're fast. We know they're fast. Like, Yuki Tsunoda has been doing a great job in these first two races. Hadjar has done a great job. If it's not for randomly exploding front wings or uh really botched like strategy calls, which was a real odd one from RB in China and also in Australia. And we've seen it quite a lot, to be fair, from them. If Liam Lawson returns, continues to get the pace out of their car that we know there is, and Hadjar continues to grow, get quicker and quicker, how under threat are Williams if Carlos Sainz doesn't start to pick up his pace quickly?
Very much so. I mean, that's very much a no-brainer. Like going back as well, like obviously Isaac has no points, Liam has no points. Obviously the points for V Carb comes from Sonoda, and obviously now he's moving into the main team. I think some of that flukes as well. Obviously, watching that kind of collapse in that front wing, which was very random. Like even the commentators were saying, is very unknown. I think Williams will definitely feel the pressure, but with their knowledge and skills and their consistency, I think probably will outweigh. Because while VCarb will have a faster car, you got two young drivers and a rookie who's not raced in some of these tracks before or has raced in Formula 2. But even then, that car is so different. Even when it was the newest generation of car as well, because I was last season in Formula 2, um, it still doesn't compare. So as well, Isaac has made some rookie mistakes. Obviously, we saw what happened in Australia. He did pretty well, I would say, in Shanghai. But I think this is also where experience and skills will outweigh pace in a car because of the driver's backing. But they will definitely 100% feel the pressure as well. And then even you can throw in other teams into that pace, into that conversation as well, where their drivers are really good, but their cars are not as good. But then they can drive their cars a lot better to get kind of that pressure to Williams. Williams, out of all those bottom teams, I think is the more total package of driver and car. But then you have other teams, like we mentioned, obviously VCarb. VCarb has the car, but maybe not the drivers. If you look then as well, I want to say it's Aston Martin has the drivers, but even then, that's kind of far fetched. But they have other kind of key things to make it work. Like even Haas as well with Behrman and Hulkenberg both in Hulkenberg, sorry. Behrman and Alcon both in the points. It's been a while. I forgot that they changed teams. Like even they're coming into contention as well. So and that's because of their driver more so not because of the car. So I think out of all of them, Williams will feel the pressure. I would say sooner rather than later. I wouldn't even say by summer break. I would even say within the first five races, the first maybe what fifth of the race or quarter of the season. But I think they will still outweigh though compared to B Carb and Haas and Kick and all the other ones in Aston and Alpine. Forgot that one.
Yeah, but I mean, you mentioned about Alpine. Alpine are the only team right now that have 0 points. Um, and it's not always been their fault. I mean, they got disqualified in China. It was a bit of a, thing. Um, Doohan's had some unfortunate incidents, which just is driving this drive to survive narrative that we've got around his seat right now. And you know, Gasly's just doing Gasly. He's doing a solid job in kind of dragging that team um along. But is as you said, like with these other teams, with Williams having a good total package, as you said, RB are on paper fast, strategically often not quick. Aston Martin are there. Does it really mean that they need to get these points quickly? Otherwise, they fear that they may never get them.
Definitely. I mean, we've seen in the seasons in general as well, like if you come out the gates gun blazing, getting the points, that's going to help you in the end because we see always teams will drop off. And as well, something that we've not really talked about is 2026's new regulations as well. We're going to start seeing some of these teams drop off on the development of the current season car to focus on 2026 as well. So that's why a lot of teams, I mean, I can just throw out Aston Martin, for example. They're trying to get as many points as possible in this probably first half. And then obviously Adrian Newey is working in the background. But when it comes to with the down with the upgrades and the downfall, like we're gonna see that in the second half of the season. And that's where some of the teams are gonna obviously focus on 2026 cars. With Alpine, they're in the similar boat as well, where they need to get good points at the beginning because that's going to help them in the wind tunnel where they're going to get in the points obviously as well. We're throwing in Cadillac as a new team as well, like that's also going to have another impact of development for the 2026 car as well. So there's so many different outstanding factors, and at the end of the day you want to score points. That's the whole point of Formula One. You want to race, score the points for the drive in the constructors championship. Alpine was unlucky with the weight situation with Gasly. Yeah, with the weight situation. I mean, Doohan has made some many mistakes, I would say, and obviously that's fueling into the narrative of Franco or Paul or even Kushmini. That's another reserve driver, and then there's the other one as well, which I always forget his name. Um, but again, that it's chaotic to see. They just got unlucky with last race. I think this weekend will be an interesting one. It's a new track for Doohan as well. So that's also going to kind of feed into the rookie situation as well. And the constructors as well, they're behind VCAR by 3 points. That doesn't seem a lot, but when it comes to comparing to previous seasons where some teams were only getting 1 point or maybe a gap of 1 point, that's a big difference in wind tunnel and development time as well. So the goal for Alpine is to definitely get these points in these next couple of races to try to get a good buffer so that they can then focus obviously on 2026 and come out guns blazing. Comparing again back to VCARB, those 3 points come from Yuki. Yuki's now left. So what's going to happen with them? Are they going to drop down? And that's going to be feeding into Alpine to kind of get that jump up the constructors. Um, but yeah, I mean, they're the only one remain pointless, but I think that's going to change in the next two races as well because it is so scattered, the grid and these drivers as well, that one mistake can have a knock-on effect, not just with them and in their constructors and drivers championship, it can affect other teams as well. So it's more what's the term? Fluid, I would say, in how points are gonna get given these next couple of races. So hopefully Alpine can get bounced back from that disqualification from Gasly. It was very minimal as well, and then hopefully they can try to get Doohan back into getting better. We've seen obviously he has done well in sim. We've seen him do good in like feeder series as well, but I think this race might not be his best suited. I think Gasly will probably out jump it, but I can see Alpine getting some points in the next couple of race weekends though.
Yeah, I think they're gonna have to really get them quick, otherwise they could unfortunately be kind of left behind and end up kind of like what Sauber were last year. It was kind of just absolutely chasing for anything, just because all the other teams above them are so close, and you don't want to drop off from that. So a final point for this preview is going to be talking about Aston Martin. So Lance Stroll, Grid Talk's favorite driver. It's only taken him how many 9 years? It's his ninth season now. He's finally actually doing something and not just being absolutely wiped, like wiped across the floor by his teammate. I mean, okay, fair enough. He did beat Sergei Sorokin. I know. Well done. I bet half the people listening don't even know who Sergei Sorokin is because let's face it, I think a lot of people forget who he is. Even if you do remember him, you're probably that's a name you've gone, oh wow, I've not heard that name in 9 years. Um, so he's having a good start. I mean, I'll even put my hand up. He's had a very good start. He's been very strong. You know, he's seemed to have sorted out his qualifying, which tends to be his main kind of crux that we've seen from last year. And his just ability to, drive consistently, keep it in the points, keep it clean, don't do anything stupid, which is which is very rare. Um, but what do you make for this start to Aston Martin season? Fernando Alonso not being so good, Stroll doing comparatively better.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that on F1's website, Alonso's not even mentioned not once in the driver standings in the results page because of his two did not finishes is crazy to think about. I mean, I can throw in stats. This he's done over 600 races, Fernando Alonso. This 300 that's just passed, he has not won. I think, or even been in like well, he's done podiums, but like this second half of his career, he is still chasing a win, which is crazy. He's had more wins in his first half of his career than his second half, and this is actually the worst. I believe this is the worst start ever in his career as well, which as a rookie, but also one of the longest drivers of the grid. That is crazy to think about the amount of years he's been in the sport, and this is the worst start ever. Now, flip side, it's 2025 and 2026. Adrian Newey's coming in, and obviously we know Alonso's still staying for another year. So, like, I'm expecting a whole 180 at the start of next season already. The mistakes, the thing is that with Alonso's issues, they weren't even his issues as well. Like, they were what mechanical, electrical, like, there was problems not even from the fault of his own, which is crazy to think about. And then flip side to Stroll, what? We've talked about Stroll for so many years about his ability and like his lack of driving sometimes, lack of skill. He is above Lewis Hamilton, a 7-time world champion in the driver's standing. I would never imagine to say that.
Big asterisks on that, by the way. Big,
Yeah, by
big
1 point.
asterisks.
By 1 point. He's above both of the Ferraris. Again, obviously the double disqualification does hit with it. The asterisk. But still, it's what's the standing is right now. He is 10 points, Lewis is 9, and Charles is 8. He in 2 races. Again, obviously got hit by the disqualification. But again, no one looks at the asterisks half of the time. Look at 2021 results. Look at COVID results. I'm so sorry. But with Aston Martin, it's surprisingly doing well. I'm just like throwing so much into this. But
You're gonna
yeah,
have to
Aston
bleep that or something. You can't mention that in F1 these days.
can't mention 2021. Yeah, flashbacks or even just COVID racing as well. Let's be honest. um, but yeah, Aston Martin's been, I think, pleasantly surprising as well and crazy to think about. I think had Alonso kind of had the better start of the season, I think they would be quite very much mid pack, even top five, obviously in contention. I suspect as well this season Stroll's gonna be one of those sneaky ones like Ocon and Gasly used to be, where you don't see them at all during the races, but they're the ones going to get the points and get that drivers and constructors championship positions up for the team. I can see that because, which is again wild to think because it's Stroll and we've slated him for how many years, but I
9.
don't know. Yeah, 9. Yeah, I mean it's been such a turnaround as well, and again looking into 2026, um, but yeah, reliability is I think probably going to be the biggest downfall, and as well, it'll be interesting to see when is Aston Martin willing to drop off to focus on 2026 as well, because that's what a lot of these constructors are going to be like as well. When's the best time to jump the gun, give up this season, which sounds really bad, but it's for the benefit of the following years as well. And especially because now it's going to be more competitive with the 11th team come in, more funding, more racing, more wind tunnels, all these rules and regulations. So I'm pleasantly surprised about Aston Martin, which, yeah, I'm very shocked to say that even 2 races in the season.
Hmm. Yeah. Also, thank you for reminding me that I've not seen my favorite driver win since I was 13 years old. So thanks. Thanks. I'm almost 25.
I forgot you're younger than me. Oh my God.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on to today's predictions. So, if you haven't actually been, before I start these predictions, if you haven't checked out our socials, which is at Grid Talk UK, especially our Instagram, our hosts have been running a prediction challenge, which of course will be directly feeding these predictions in. So, bit of a cheeky plug at the start, but if you want to go check it out, we have more predictions on there. Get involved, tell us your predictions, let us know what you think. It's currently you're actually looking at the two leaders at the moment. Sophia's top with me second, so you could probably take what we're about to say as given. It's going to happen. No need to watch the actual race. Um, so of course, let's start with our regular predictions. What is your podium for this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I've commented on the Instagram saying I don't know if it's my statistics background or just a total fluke about this. Because if you look at my fantasy team, I've not even checked it since then. So yeah, my podium though, I think Lando's going to be P1. I think P2 will be. Oh, do I want to throw a little bit of chaos now and kind of maybe not get the points I want? Lando P1, P2 Charles, P3 George. I'm gonna throw that. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a little bit chaotic, but I think yeah, why not?
No Oscar. No Oscar on the
Mm-mm.
podium. Mm.
P4
Uh,
maybe.
People. I am going to go with uh Lando Norris to win. Shock. Uh, um, P2, I'm gonna say Oscar. P3, Yuki. You heard it.
Ooh.
Yuki Tsunoda is gonna Kamui Kobayashi his way onto the podium and his debut for Red Bull. He's gonna kill it. That's gonna be my prediction. Some stuff may happen in the meantime to get it there. But that's it. Next one, because I forgot to do it. Pole position.
I'm gonna say Lando because it is very easier to convert a pole to win. So statistically, like Max has done it 3 times in a row. I think Lando's gonna do it. He's gonna finally get some conversion rates better than last season.
Yeah, I'm also gonna go Lando Norris for pole position. I think it's a track that suits him well. Uh, okay, so then we move on to our final one, which is our bold prediction, which you get no points for, by the way. It's just a bit of fun.
Yet my bolds have been actually on point as well. Like I've had some crazy bold, and it's actually kind of turned out to be correctly, which is a shame is not added to my point system. Um, I said it before earlier in this episode. I think both Williams will get points this weekend.
Okay. Um, I am. See, originally I was gonna go with like Liam Lawson out qualifies like both Red Bulls or something, but I put Yuki on the
No,
podium.
no, with Yuki, yeah.
Uh, I don't think I can really go for that. So I am going to say that Esteban Ocon is going to finish in the top eight.
Okay,
Top
I can see
top
that.
eight. Top.
Yeah,
Okay,
he
maybe I'm
finished
taking it a bit
P4
too
back
safe.
in 2023, so
Yeah, I think it's a track that suits him well. I don't know how well the house is going to do, but I think he's going to has seem to really get what's going on at the moment. They seem to be doing a really good job. So top eight. Okay, so that is the end of this podcast. As I said, do please check out the prediction challenge that we have on our socials. Get involved. Tell us what your predictions are. So before we finish, and I do our outro, Sophia, of course you are a Grid Talk host, but if you want to plug anything, now is your time.
Yeah, I mean, I freelance bits and videos and sometimes articles for F1 Chronicle. So you can find it online at f1chronicle.com, on MSN, on all social medias as well. I primarily do videos, shocker, about feeder series, primarily Formula 2 and Formula 3. So picking up that this season. And yeah, take a look on all social media platforms for that.
Yep, I've already done a job of plugging our socials. As I said, at Grid Talk UK. That's on everything that you may want to follow us on. That is Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, even YouTube. Our YouTube handle is at Grid Talk UK, so it's really easy to find us. Um, so YouTube is also where all of our race reviews are recorded live. So if you subscribe, hit the notification, you'll be notified as soon as we go live. So you can get in, ask us questions in the comments, get involved. We usually do like a kind of like an after show where we take your questions and we have a bit more of a conversation. But if you want early access to the podcast, we are always live just roughly about an hour after the end of the Grand Prix. So make sure to check that out. And then you can get it later on any podcasting platform you want. So, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Fire, Verbal Pocket Casts. Just search for the F1 Grid Talk podcast, and you'll find our like huge catalog of shows. We've been doing this for 5 years. There's plenty of content for us to um, entertain you with. Of course, a huge shout out to Jared Bradley and Holly Eagle for supporting us on Patreon. We mentioned earlier that we have a behind beyond no it's beyond the grid talk. I keep saying behind the grid talk. It's like some weird like retrospective documentary title. um but if you want to support the show further, please sign up for our Patreon for exclusive access, exclusive content. As we mentioned, our sort of extra podcast where it's kind of a bit more unfiltered, and you can have direct say on what the topics that we talk about are. So yeah, make sure to subscribe. Keep in touch with our socials for all of our content over the course of this weekend with the Japanese Grand Prix, and then make sure to check in on the race review, and hopefully it's a good race. So thank you very much for listening to the Grid Talk podcast presented by Bet Online, and goodbye.